So yeah, I really love this song. This is probably one of my favorite songs that I have ever done. Every time I hear this song gets me in my feels. So um listening back to it, because I had a chance to listen to this before I did this stream. So listening back to it, um versus where I was when I first produced this song, where I am now versus where I was when I first produced this song, I didn't have to do much, so that's always a plus. Um, but there are a couple of things I changed production wise because of my new mindset when it comes to mixing. Um, Point being the actual sub and the low end information. See, I'm a Florida native. I love bass. All right, everything about bass. When I was growing up, I used to love the Chevy Dunks, just blasting. All you coming down the road, all you hear, I used to love those 6.4 Impalas, just trunk rattling, just shaking up the whole block. So when I got into music, that was one of the things that I kind of like gravitated towards, like making that low end shine. But what I started noticing was I started getting frustrated because I would be like, well, does these producers, why do these songs have low end that just kind of like thumps? It just thumps, right? And when I go to do that, it's not doing the same thing. And then I realized later in life, yeah, it's because, the smaller speakers nowadays can't pick up that low end information. I mean, nowadays I hear that and I'm like, yeah, that's common sense. But that wasn't so common back when I was producing earlier in life. So my approach initially was to just crank the bass up, just crank it up. And all I was doing was pretty much over dominating the entire song without realizing it because I wasn't able to monitor that information. So nowadays, I have an approach, and it's not a groundbreaking approach. All I do is I duplicate whatever low end that I want to do this effect on, and so you'll see I have the sub and a duplication of the sub, and so I just basically on the original track. This is kind of counterintuitive because you would think I need all the low end information. As a matter of fact, I like to take out everything below 30 hertz because at that point you don't really hear it. It just takes up a lot of room. And it's a lot of rumble at that point. It's not something that you hear, it's something that you feel at that point. So I'm not really interested in that information down there. Alternatively, I do a low pass, a low pass. I cut out all of that high end information. Any high end information that's in the bass, I just take it out, right? And this is on the original track. I take all of that out. And on this particular sub track, like I said, I wasn't really focused on the harmonics of bass. And so this almost is a pure sine wave. There's little to no harmonics in this sub. So whatever was there, I did take out. So all we have is just bass. And on the duplicated track, I do the opposite. So I take out all of the low end information, all of it. So at this point, we're only getting just a little bit of that harmonic, and that is what I want to accentuate. So with that, that makes it it makes it super quiet because all of your information is down there in, below that 250 hertz. And so that's why I'm like, it's kind of counterintuitive because you don't want, why would you do that? But I played with a couple of saturation, and this is why I did it, by the way. So on this copy track, I use the Magma BB tubes, and like I tell you guys, this plugin has very, very rarely has a plugin just seep this way into my workflow. This plugin was like a virus. Once I learned about it, I just can't stop using it. It always finds a way in my workflow. And the settings you see here is pretty much like, it's mind blowing because why would you do this? And I would like to explain it. So, um, This is just a saturator. It has two types of saturation. So I believe the beauty setting is more of those even, subtle harmonics, those fundamental, nice sounding harmonics. And Beast just gives it just a lot of character. And I believe it's odd harmonics. So it's like a lot more alarming and, really grungy sounding. Normally I would not do any settings, but as an engineer, I always tell people to use your ear, because if you're just going off of, well, I can't add too much of this, you're not really going to bring that sound out to the potential that it can. So you see these settings and you're like, wow, you crank that all the way up to 10. And I would tell you, if I could go past 10, I would definitely do that, because 10 gave me the sound that I was looking for. Gave me that really nice, grungy, like hard sound. So I'll let you hear it really quick because you can't really hear it in the mix. But I'll take this. Oh yeah, so we soloed it. So this is without it. This is what it's giving me. Just a lot of that. And with it, I get this sound. And so you might be thinking like, okay, well, that just made a volume change. And I hear a lot different. I hear something different than that. I hear a lot of that top end of that bass coming out, a lot of that sheen, and that upper mid area becoming more prominent. And I just feel like this plugin just does that so beautifully. With that, I added some of the beauty after that, just to kind of get it to sit a little bit higher. Something unorthodox that you would normally do, and a lot of engineers might rip their heads off if they saw this, but I took a doubler and just kind of spread that high end out. And the reason I do this is because I want that bass to feel like it's around you, not just sitting dead in the center. I think that sounds too boring, especially if we're adding saturation to the top end. Why not make it more exciting? Why not make it feel like it's wrapping you in its embrace? So I definitely added the waves doubler, and I felt it got a little bit too low. And so I added the waves MV2 just to uh just to at some parts it was like too low, and then some parts it just like jumped up, like those wing, like those slides, it was like up there. So, and that's because we're getting higher in frequency, so that makes sense. You're starting to get into this territory. So whenever it got too much to be too much, we just bring it down. Ironically, it made this sound a lot louder, and so I just turned it down to its original state. So we kind of got like a middle ground there. And so that's pretty much it. Those are just like production techniques that I did, that I've learned over the years.